Joining me on GCS Today is Cathy Lineberger. She is the school nurse at North Gaston High School. And I also want to mention that you were the Gaston County School Nurse of the Year a few years ago. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
We appreciate you being here today. Let's start out by talking, what does a school nurse do?
Well, a school nurse is a specialty in the field of nursing. Our goal is to have students enter the classroom in optimal health and ready to learn. We accomplish that in a variety of ways. We screen students, we look for illness, we try to prevent it if possible and to minimize the effects that the illness may have on them in school. We can review their records, talk with the students, do physical assessments, talk with parents and other healthcare providers, and come up with a unique plan for that student that will make them function their best in the class.
And now all of our schools are served by a nurse, is that correct?
That's correct. Some nurses have one school, some have two, and one or two still have three, but they're usually smaller schools so that they can be available to them as much as possible.
Now, in your role as a school nurse, you also take on the role of coordinating the crisis team for Gaston County Schools. Tell us, what is the crisis team?
Well, I can tell you that back in the 1990s, a school bus carrying students in the morning to school went down a street, and a fellow student had been shot and was lying in a yard. And they saw that. When they arrived at their school, of course, they were very upset, as well as the bus driver and staff members when they heard about it. So the principal of the school felt pretty overwhelmed dealing with the situation, and he began calling other schools and administration and saying, we need some help here to support the students at this time. After that, a committee was formed of people from the public as well as employees in the school to come up with a plan to deal with any situations like that in the future. And from that, the crisis team was born.
So we've had a crisis team available to our schools since the 1990s for more than 20 years.
That's correct. That's correct.
Now, and the crisis team is there. It can be activated and respond to a situation with one phone call.
That's correct. Usually the phone call goes from Dr. Baltnight to my supervisor, Ms. Worthy, and then she calls me after there's a verified need for the team to go in. The principal of each school decides if there's a need and approximately how many responders he thinks he may need in the school. I then began calling members of the team, and it can be day and night, and they're aware of that, and we prepare to be at the school in the morning before the students enter.
And I think that's important for parents in our community to know that when we have a tragedy, when we have the death of a student or the death of an employee, we have that crisis team right there, ready to respond and to provide support to the students and the teachers and to that school. I think you would want parents in the community to feel assured that we have that level of support in the time of a tragedy.
Absolutely. We have a large team. Each person on the team either volunteered to be on the team or was asked to be on the team because of their special skill set. Each one of us has a written resource guide that we review frequently. We have an annual training in which we hear the most up-to-date things that we can do with students to help them work through the process. We enter the school prepared to meet with their students and staff, and lots of times both, to help them go through the phases of grief. Sometimes it's anticipatory grief where they expect a death to occur, or usually the death has already occurred.
And because that is such a difficult time when a situation like that occurs, it's so important to have those counselors and the nurses and the social workers and the other student support personnel there to provide that level of support in the school.
We think it is, and as you said, there are school nurses and counselors and social workers. We also have psychologists and mental health clinicians. Our goal as we help students work through the normal phases of grief is also to try to identify any of their students that seem to be having more difficult problem going through this, and we refer that list to the counselors when we leave, and we also contact parents during the day when we feel there is a need.
And in a school year, we would love to never have to use our crisis team.
Correct.
But it is great to know that the crisis team is there to respond when there is a tragedy and to provide that level of support for our schools.
We think it's important, each one of us, it's vital. It takes a lot from us because we give a lot to the students during the day. At the end of the day, after a crisis response, we always meet together and debrief ourselves and find that it takes a lot from us, but it is worth it because we truly believe we help the students.
Cathy, we appreciate everything that you do. Also, our school nurses and our crisis team members and everyone that provides a service, a support service to our students. We appreciate everything you do for Gaston County Schools, and we appreciate you being with us here today on GCS Today.
Thank you for letting me come.
Thank you for watching GCS Today. Stay tuned to Channel 21 for the latest school news and happenings. We look forward to seeing you next time.